College Football Payoff Podcast. We are back. It is week 11.
Episode 68,
That's Fuji. I'm Dan.
right
And
before 69.
yeah, I can't wait for that episode.
Yeah.
Fun intro for
Got
that
a
one.
special for that episode.
We're back again. Another week. And I just want to go right into saying college football is so much fun. But at the same time, the conference realignment kind of kicked me in the dick last week because watching Oklahoma State and realizing that's the last time Bedlam's going to be played hurt.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. That game was awesome. And hopefully we can find a way to keep like the traditional rivalries going somehow because man, I really enjoyed watching that game. It was a lot of fun to watch and yeah, I mean, I think I was on Oklahoma State, but anyways. All right, so last week, we're going to go quick through this one. Last week, I had a record of 2-1. Last week was my under week. So I took two
Nice.
games that had low totals, and I took the under. Army Air Force under 32. That one was kind of scary because the game went the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. Army jumped out on top big. And it was like 20-0 at half or 20-3 at half. I'm like, oh, shit. And then it just stayed that way for the rest of the game.
I had a small bet on Army to cover just because they were getting 18.5 points in any service academy game. Like that's just unheard of. So once I saw them up like 20-0, I was like, oh, this is a rocking chair, easy cover.
Yeah, so that one was money. And then the other under that I hit was the Iowa Northwestern under 30.5. There's just something about those. Well, obviously, when I was involved in any game, the under is basically in play. But something about those games on baseball fields, just because of the dimensions and how it's just tight. It's tight dimensions, but the crowd is so far away. I don't know, but that was another easy win. The one loss came from Florida minus 5.5.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, so that one was tough. And then before you get into yours, I will say Billy lost his bet last week, Texas -4. That's a tough one because
he had it the whole game.
And you know what? At the end of that game, why is Kansas State not just tying it up?
I don't know. They were on the road, right? Supposed to go for 2 on the road.
That's true, but at the same time,
and they had no business being in that game. Like Texas literally gave them.
So if they're giving you life, then you got to kind of
you just take it while you can. And
all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the decision, but they should have never. I mean, Texas just decided to like kill them the first half and then be like, oh, let's make this fun.
Yeah,
that was a nice little over for me.
Yeah, that was good.
Unfortunately, that was not a pod pick last week. So, like I said, Florida was a loser. I actually went back through all the pod episodes, and I think I've taken Florida 6 times this year, or a Florida associated game, and I've only been correct twice. So, we're on Florida. I'm betting on Florida. And also, Florida deserved to lose last week because Billy Napier, Sunbelt Billy, they scored a touchdown to go up 23-20. Okay? And all they had to do was kick the extra point to get the 4-point lead, right? They ended up going for 2. There's absolutely no reason to do that. Zero reason. I tried to go through every scenario in my head of why you would try to make a 3-point game a 5-point game instead of a 4-point game, and I could not find any rationale. Well, he effed around and he found out because Arkansas ended up tying the game at the end and winning in overtime. All he had to do was use a 70 level IQ to take an extra point, and he blew that. Florida State first half minus 11.5 against Pitt was never even close. Keon Coleman scratched before the game. I don't know. After watching Florida State the last few weeks, I think everybody's still jaded by the fact that the big national Florida State game was the opening week against LSU, and they just saw them running it up. I'm putting Florida State on a little bit of fraud alert here, and we'll find out over these next few weeks when they have some rivalry games coming up. I think Kentucky minus 3.5, my biggest bet of the week last week. Never a doubt against a quite watch team in Mississippi State. So 1 and 2. That puts us the podcast through 4 years worst record that I've ever had at 14-19-2. But we got like 4 weeks left plus bowl
Hmm.
season plus the college football playoff.
Yeah, we got time. We're good.
I'm working hard over here. I was surgical this week with my 3 bets and because I hate the board. Um, so let's turn this around. If I go 3-0, I'm back to 17-19-2 and right in striking distance. We're gonna get back to 500 before bowl season, and
Yeah.
then push it through. End this season on a winning note, just like we always have.
Yep. Always have, always will. All right. Yeah. Do you want to talk about anything else from last week?
Well, I mean, outside of Billy Napier just being dumb as hell, had a big bet last week on Michigan over 5.5 touchdowns that they stopped after 5, so that hurts bankroll a little bit. I've made 280 bets this year, and I am up $11.15. So
It's a lot of window dressing.
that's how my year is going.
Yeah. No better time to turn it around than this week right here, right?
Never back down.
Never back down. All right. Let's get into the picks. We'll go quick through these. I'll start. It's going to be that team that that you actually just talked about, Florida State. They're playing against Miami this week. Spreads at 14.5, and I'm rolling with Florida State minus 14.5. The reasoning behind this is not necessarily with Florida State, more or less against Miami. So Miami, their season it's just been kind of weird. They suffered another disappointing loss last week, but this one wasn't the clock management type. This was actually just losing. It was just losing a game. They outgained. They lost to North Carolina State. They actually outgained North Carolina State, but they didn't get to 300 yards. They had less than 300 yards of offense. Big key was converting just 4 of 15 third downs, and they committed 4 turnovers. And probably the worst part about this is Miami had the ball for 35 minutes of the game and was only able to get 2 field goals. Now, this is against North Carolina State, who's also had kind of an up and down type of year. So in their last 5 games, Miami just 2 games won straight up, but they failed to cover the spread in all but one. Florida State, on the other hand, they've been on a roll. I mean, yeah, they're 9-0 on the year. They're number 4 in the college football playoff rankings. They've won their last 5 games by an average of 24 points. In last year's contest, Florida State absolutely demolished Miami. It was 45-3. They outgained them 454 yards to 188. So maybe Miami can come back and have a little bit more resistance defensively in this game. But I still think that Florida State has a little bit too much power and they're on a little bit more of a roll than Miami is. They should go win this game, cover easily. Since week 5, both teams are top 35 in pass play rate. So we should see a lot of quarterback dropbacks, and that's where you're going to give the advantage to Florida State. Jordan Travis, top 35 in pass proficiency per pass. So basically, it's basically his completion rate.
PPP.
Yeah, it's a weird PPPA something.
Pass proficiency per pass.
Yeah, per attempt.
Oh shit!
It's not the quadruple P. But yeah, we talked about that. So Jordan Travis, if both teams are going to be throwing the ball, you go with the Heisman hopeful and Jordan Travis. Miami's they allowed 33 points to Texas A&M, 41 to North Carolina, and those 2 offenses at the time were mere mortals to Florida State. Florida State's going to be 14th in the country. It's just the state of Miami right now. It's a suspect team. We don't really know what to expect, and I feel like Miami coming off a tough defeat, Florida State rolling. That's where we're going to have a big win for Florida State. Tyler Van Dyke, just a key player from each side that I want to kind of hone in on. Florida State, obviously, we got Keon Coleman. Last week was a late scratch. He did travel with the Seminoles, so we're not 100% sure what that injury was, if he'll play this week. But if he does go, that can make it a lot harder on Miami. And then for Miami, Tyler Van Dyke, after a strong start, he's fallen off the cliff. He's had injuries. He missed the team win uh, against Clemson in overtime. Came back through 5 interceptions, less than 200 yards in both games. He's going to be under center, but right now he's not really helping that team. So struggling Miami or rolling Florida State. I'll take Florida State minus 14.5.
Okay. Florida State needs Keon Coleman. They will have
The last
a
I
shot
checked is what he was
to
playing.
make it to the playoff
Oh
or
yeah, yeah,
win
yeah.
win a playoff game or whatever. They could still maybe beat Miami just because Tyler Van Dyke has played so shitty.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're going to go through a quarterback change or not. It'd be pretty bad to put a first time starting quarterback in this game.
Yeah, for
This
sure.
is a crazy rivalry game that the better days are behind us for what the game used to be, but it's still gonna be an awesome slugfest. My first pick of the week, Big Ten game, vibes pick. Disgusting, but we're gonna go with Michigan State plus the points. Right now, I think it's at 31.5. If I can find anything better, I'll take it. But my honest opinion is that Ohio State should not be a 30-point favorite to any team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, and that is my logic behind this. I think Michigan State, although they have sucked all year, got a nice little bump after beating Nebraska last week. So okay, I'm seeing 31.5. So we're going to take 31.5 with this game. I can't name too many players on Michigan State.
No,
All I know is that I do not trust Kyle McCord to cover and be competent enough to score like 40 plus points. And I don't think Ohio State really needs them to. They need to get to this game. Who do they have next week? Minnesota, and then they have Michigan. So, and that's all they really need to focus on is Michigan. They should coast the next 2 weeks. They should not be playing very hard to the end of the game. I think we have a great opportunity to backdoor cover if needed, and really all we need is we need 10 to 14 points from Michigan State in this game, and I think they can do it, especially if Ohio State is trying to at least protect the strong suit of their team, which is their defense. If they get up quick, they'll call the dogs off. This will be a good opportunity to get some backups in. Um, yeah, not too much of a handicap here outside of the fact that Ohio State shouldn't be this big of a favorite, and I don't trust Kyle McCord to do it for him. So let's go. Let's go, Sparty. Fight on.
yeah, this is a game where it's going against my two kind of rules that I've made myself for the year, which is don't back Michigan State, but also you can't back Ohio State. So it's like a game where I'm not going to be able to really put much action on because, like you said, Kyle McCord, you can't trust him to score 40 points. You don't know what you're going to get with the play calling from Ryan Day. Michigan State is just it's a dumpster fire over there. So yeah, I'm going to stay completely away from this. I'll watch the game, obviously, as a Buckeye fan, but it's a night game too, isn't it?
It is 7:30 kickoff.
Oh yeah, because they're wearing their all gray jerseys. So actually, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to get to the end of the night. I'm not going to have a bet placed on them. Half an hour before the game, after the 4 o'clock games are played, I'm going to say, let's go. I'm either going to be riding a high and trying to win more or trying to recoup losses. I'm going to end up putting a bet on the game, but I don't like it at all.
Rock with Fuji.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. All right, next game, West Virginia, Oklahoma. I'm going to take the over in this one. I got it at 57. Let's look back a little bit here. Oklahoma coming off one of their best wins in all of the college football season this year. That 34-30 victory over Texas in the Red River. They went into the bye, a lot of confidence. Actually had national media praising them, saying Oklahoma's back. Right after the bye, they almost lose to UCF at home, despite laying the 17 points. Then they go to Kansas the next week. They gave up 38 points to Kansas, lost outright. Then they followed that up with an outright loss as a road favorite in Stillwater in the final Bedlam game. Right now, Oklahoma is they're on a bumpy little road here. They're giving up points. They're not that high-powered team that everyone thought going into their bye. I think this is just going to be an absolute shootout of a game with points. Oklahoma runs a play just about every 23 seconds. They're a top 15 rate
In
play
pace.
per rate. Yeah, pace, that's perfect. Top 15 nationally. Their fast pace should speed up a little. It's going to speed up the game. But it should speed up West Virginia's game more because West Virginia is actually a bottom 20 nationally in pace of play.
Mhm.
The uptick in pace, I expect that to bring in a lack defensively of efficiency on both sides. West Virginia nor Oklahoma have had much success limiting scoring when opponents get into the red zone. And they've not been able to limit explosive plays since week 5. West Virginia is 95th in explosiveness allowed. I don't know if that's just made up, but that's what the stat says. And in that time, Oklahoma is actually 126th. So they give up big plays. Should be plenty of them through the air for Dylan Gabriel against West Virginia's pass defense, which is outside of the top 100. And West Virginia's ground game should have a decent time against Oklahoma's defense that last week they surrendered 137 yards to Ollie Gordon and 112 to Devin Neal in the last 2 weeks. So you got a team that can throw the ball with Dylan Gabriel going up against a defense that's suspect. You got a team that can run the ball in West Virginia going up against a defense that's given up big running games to opposing running backs the past 2 weeks. Man, there's going to be a lot of points here. Oklahoma is 8th among FBS teams for points per game, just about 40. West Virginia is still in the top 50. They're scoring about 31 a game. Oklahoma needs a big bounce back. I think this is it where they're going to score points. This past week was their worst scoreboard result since scoring just 20 against Cincinnati on September 23rd. So I think they're going to score points. I think the pace of play is going to speed up the game. I think West Virginia is going to run it down their throat, score up some points as well. And then a little bit of a tidbit here. 7 of Oklahoma's last 9 November home games against non-AP ranked teams have gone over. So I'm going to take the over in this one. What did I say, 57? Over 57 in this game.
Let's go. As the this podcast resident West Virginia football expert, I would lean West Virginia this week.
Ooh.
Yeah, we beat Oklahoma last year. And coming off that letdown spot, Oklahoma has nothing left to play for. They're 4th in the Big 12. So
Ooh,
I would
that.
maybe look at a little bit of West Virginia plus 13.
Okay. All right. I like it.
So yeah, and we're gonna keep it in Oklahoma because we're taking Oklahoma State this week. Don't give a fuck about the letdown spot after Bedlam, after beating Oklahoma for the last rivalry game that we know between those two for probably a while. And the reason I don't give a F about
I think you can say it if you just said it.
this letdown spot is Oklahoma State controls their own destiny. After losing at home to 4-5 South Alabama earlier this year and losing to Iowa State, this team was in the depths of hell. Mike Gundy talking about him getting fired after like 30 years at Oklahoma State, probably like 15, but this team had nowhere to go except up, and that's exactly what they did. Went on to bust out win after win after win. They're sitting at 7-2 now, 2nd place in the Big 12. They control their own destiny. All they have to do is win out and get to the Big 12 championship, where they'll most likely be playing Texas. Mike Gundy is going to get this done. And on top of that, they only play Big 12 newcomers this year, or for the rest of the year. They got UCF, BYU, and Houston back to back to back before they get to Texas in the Big 12 championship. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but Big 12 newcomers have not had too much success against the original Big 12 teams this year. They've been getting their ass kicked left and right. So I really like the Cowboys here. Don't care about the letdown spot. And oh yeah, Ollie Gordon, nation's leading rusher at 1,224 yards, 12 touchdowns. He probably goes off against a very physically incapable UCF defense. All I have to lay is 2.5 points. I'm taking that.
So you and Billy have had a little back and forth here the past few weeks. You've been butting heads a little bit.
I'm cool with Billy.
I
I
know
just
you
I just
are.
want
I
him to
know you
win.
are. I know. Well, he's cool with you this week because that's his pick as well. So
Nice. Make
you
sure you
guys are
shot
in
for
the
that two
same
and a
boat.
half.
Yep. Billy's pick as well as Fuji's is Oklahoma State minus 2.5 over UCF, and I like it. I like Oklahoma State. I really like Oklahoma State, and there's just something I don't really like UCF. I know you
Hey,
didn't really talk about them, but
I don't care about
I
UCF.
don't like them. I think we're riding the high right now with
We're
Oklahoma
riding the
State.
high. We're buying them at a premium, but
Hell yeah.
man, they got three winnable games to get to a conference championship after how down bad they were earlier this year. I mean,
Yeah.
give me the Pokes.
Oh, Hooks. All right. Last game for me. I'm going Big Ten. I'm going a game that probably no one really wants to watch. It's Purdue against Minnesota. This game opened up. The opening line was Minnesota -1. It's since flipped. It's now Purdue -1 against Minnesota, and I am going with Purdue -1 against Minnesota. Minnesota, they're a running team. They live and die by the run. Um, and that's basically because their quarterback has struggled with turnovers all year. He's 98th out of 110 qualifying starting quarterbacks in passing efficiency. Minnesota ranks top 10 in rush play percentage this season. They're facing a defense in Purdue that's been much better at stopping the ground game than they have the passing game. They've held their opponents to under 4 yards per carry, created a ton of pressure behind the line of scrimmage. They've had 27 sacks, which is 15th in the FBS, and 59 tackles for loss, which is 26th in the FBS. I expect Purdue to come out physical in this game. They're gonna force Minnesota into a passing situation, into trying to get their quarterback to lead them through a game, and I don't think that's going to work for Minnesota. Listen, we're gonna put last week's game against Michigan for Purdue behind us. They got absolutely steamrolled. Um, but if we're going to take a positive from that game last week, they did put up 13 points against the number one defense. And that's the most that Michigan's allowed all season. I mean, their quarterback Hudson Card is capable of making some big plays through the air. He's facing a defense at Minnesota that ranks 73rd in defensive passing efficiency. They really need to simplify these stat categories. I'm getting
Yeah.
sick of saying efficiency. Um, yeah, the offense is having a little bit of a tough time. The teams have, but again, they've played Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Illinois. The defenses that they played have been so good. Minnesota's is a good defense, but it's nothing compared to those teams. So I think Purdue's in a good spot here. And Minnesota's offense is just going to be the thing that keeps them down in this game. If you don't have a quarterback that you trust that can lead you into a game, defenses are going to kind of go one dimensional. And I think PJ Fleck knows that. So it's going to be a big tell if that quarterback from Minnesota is comfortable in the game. If he's not, this could be a rout. I think Purdue could win this game by a couple possessions. I like Purdue -1, and the fact that it flipped kind of that's telling me, people are kind of seeing the same way. So
Sharp money's influencing the
yeah,
side.
yeah. So there we go. Purdue
I,
-1. That's my final pick of the day.
I definitely won't be watching that game.
No, I won't watch it, but I'll bet it.
Another game that's going to be really hard to watch. You saw the lowest total on the board,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I was thinking about it.
well, I'm doing it.
Ooh,
We're going under 28.5
let's
for the
go.
Rutgers Iowa Hawks.
Let's go.
Hawkeyes, Iowa Hawks. No, yeah, there's just I don't really have a handicap outside of Iowa's defense is really awesome. Their offense is really shitty, and there's no way that more than 4 touchdowns are scored in this game. That's why it's very important to get that half point. Let them score 4 touchdowns, which won't happen. Let me run you through Iowa's last 3 scores. Against Wisconsin, they won 15-6. Against Minnesota, they lost 12-10. And last week against Northwestern, they won 10-7. If I could find a little nice 7 plus 750 plus 800 for a more defensive points, defense slash special teams points to be scored than offensive points in this game, I would find it. If any of you can find it, please tweet it at me so I can bet it. Yeah, I love Rutgers. I think they're a pretty disciplined team. I do not think their quarterback Gavin Winsett is anything special. Um, Iowa, Iowa. I mean, we know the story. I mean, elite defense, terrible offense. Like I said, I've gone through this game scenario a million times in my head. I think it's 3 to 7 play drives in a punt, just traded back and forth all game. Um, and yeah, I there's just no way there's no way there's more than 4 touchdowns in this game. I just can't see it no matter what. So give me under 28.5. Fun fact: Cade McNamara, who hasn't played for like 5 weeks, is still Iowa's leading passer with 505 yards on the year. So
Yeah,
there you have it.
I'm definitely in on that game. I'm having a lot of fun betting unders and low total games. It's been fun for me. All right, there it is. We'll go through the cards real quick, and then we'll kind of see if there's anything jumping out, and then we'll close it up.
Yeah, I got a couple things to say.
All right, let me go
Well, a
through.
couple things to ask you. Yeah, let's go through this card, see what we got.
All right, let's see.
Oh yeah, Michigan Penn State. Wow, that didn't make the pod today. That line is at Michigan minus 4.5. I'm scared to take anything with that game.
See, I am too, and it's be all the noise around their program is kind of what's scaring me because I don't know what to expect. I don't know if Harbaugh's going to want to come out and run up a score on somebody, or if he's going to, I don't know, or if the team's demeanor is down because they have all this pressure. I really don't know what to think with that team, so I'm going to kind of stay away from it. Um, let's see, what else do we got? We got Bama, Kentucky.
I got an upset alert for people
Let's go.
because this is how college football works. After Army beat Air Force last week as an 18.5 point underdog, I'm taking them to lose against an FCS school, Holy Cross, this weekend. There's no line on the game left yet because this usually get posted Saturday morning. But I will find the biggest money line odds I can find on Holy Cross to beat Army next week or this weekend. That's just how college football works.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a while, and hopefully we can celebrate next weekend with an FCS money line.
All right.
It's not an official play.
No.
But
play it.
Plays. Yeah, I mean, there's
Man,
a
do
few
not
good.
like this
Arizona,
board.
Colorado. I hope Arizona beats the shit out of Colorado. I think Dion made a huge mistake by changing play calling responsibilities from Sean Lewis, or Sean Phillips, whatever the hell his name is. He could get like an SEC job next year. I mean, that was my biggest hope for Colorado was their offense coordinator, and now that they're trying to find somebody to throw under the bus, that's just really disappointing.
Utah, Washington. Washington's a 9.5 point favorite at home against Utah.
This is when Michael Penix loses the Heisman.
Really?
Yeah.
You think Utah wins?
Think it's a possibility. I just don't think Michael Penix Jr. plays good.
Okay.
And we need 576 yards for that.
In 3 games? Do they have 3 games left?
Mm-hmm.
5. Oh, that's easy.
You just got to keep
Knock
them
on
healthy.
wood.
Tennessee, Missouri, great game this weekend.
At Syracuse, man, I really hate this card.
Yeah, it's hard
So
to find
bad.
bettable games.
Ole Miss, Georgia.
I think Ole Miss is a little bit fraudulent.
Yeah, I'll take Georgia in the points at 10.5.
Well, I also can't take Georgia because they do not give a shit about covering at all.
Yeah.
As I felt victim to that many times this year. Yeah, I mean USC, Oregon could find themselves in some trouble.
Florida, LSU.
I mean I hate Florida now, so
Yep. LSU at home, under the lights, 13.5 points.
just weird letdown spots though.
And I don't like the total being that high either, 63.5.
I also don't like that Jaden Daniels is still in the Heisman
Hmm.
race. You have
Duke
three
UNC.
losses. Oh, Duke. I mean, that's a good game. We're getting like a mini rivalry week this week. We're getting
It
some good
is.
games. Um, but yeah, let's talk Heisman. My Heisman portfolio was dead. Ear- Earlier this year, I had Travis Hunter, Brock Bowers, and Quinn Ewers.
My God.
That's the injury trifecta. But a couple weeks ago, I can't believe I may have brought this up on the pod. I may have not. 2, 3 weeks ago, I said, you know what? Throw all those tickets out. There's still some value out there. And you know how I knew there was value? It was when we discussed that JJ favorite. There's not a chance that he's a favorite.
No.
And when you know that the outright favorite is absolutely mispriced or absolutely wrong, you know you can go find some value. So what I did was I scoured sports books that were legal and some illegal in the state of Ohio to find the best odds. My new portfolio is Carson Beck 35-1. Probably not going to hit. Marvin Harrison Jr. 20-1, which don't think it'll hit, but if he goes off against Michigan in front of the whole country and they win the game, Ohio State wins another game because of him, I think he at least gets invited to New York. But my favorite pick, shout out to Bet365 for not being as sharp as I thought you were. While all the other books had this guy at 12-1, 13-1, 14-1, I stumbled across a nice 25-1 ticket to Bet365 on Bo Nix.
Ooh.
And I think that's what gets home. If I have a current Heisman favorite, hopefully it's Bo Nix, but I truly do think it is Bo Nix right now. And that leads into uh, my next discussion is if you had to predict a college football playoff right now, what is it? What are your rankings?
Jesus.
Because I want this time stamped. I think I have it figured out of how it's all going to shake out.
You want the final,
Yeah,
not what it should be.
what is your official what is going to happen? Like, what are the 4 teams that get announced in December?
Okay, so let's talk this through real quick. We got 2 Big 10 schools, and they're spaced out to where Ohio State loses to Michigan. Michigan would jump up, and they could still keep Ohio State in at 4. So I feel like the committee's trying to keep Ohio State in it,
They are,
right?
which is
So
bullshit.
it is. It's horrible. I hate it. Um, your SEC school has to be in there.
Yep.
So if Ohio State beats Michigan, Michigan's done.
I think the loser of that game is done. Like
Right. Okay.
I don't think Ohio State gets in if they lose to Michigan.
I
Even
think
though
if
they're
it,
trying to deliberately set it up that way, I hate it.
well, what would really help is if Florida State ended up losing
That
and then
helped me
brought
out a lot
someone
too.
into 4. Yeah, your SEC school is going to be Georgia.
Yeah.
So Ohio State, Georgia. I don't think Florida State stays in there. I don't think Michigan stays in there. Man, I don't know who the last 2 would be. Not Washington. Who are your last 2?
This is how it's shaking out for me. The one is Georgia. I think they win out. I think they end up beating Alabama in the SEC championship, and there's the showing number 1. 2 is Michigan. I think they whoop Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's going to have trouble.
I'd like to see Ohio State win, but I think Michigan out physicals Ohio State probably wins that game. I think so. We got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, 3. To me, it's clear cut, and I think they have a real shot at the national championship. Oregon is 3, and 4 for me. Texas.
Yeah,
Yep.
all right, I knew it right then and there.
Timestamp at November 8th, 2023. I am predicting Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4.
Right.
I just hope shit figures itself out because I think I am putting Florida State on fraud alert. Especially if Keon Coleman's hurt. And I just think Washington ends up screwing it up. And I rightfully think, dude, if they put Ohio State in with 1 loss, I'm going to be pissed.
They're gonna. And here's how it's going to be. If Ohio State loses, if they get blown out, I think they get dropped. But if they're at 1 and they lose a close game, it's going to be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4.
Yeah,
They'll put Ohio State in before Texas.
Oklahoma screwing up and losing.
Yes.
Kansas is really screwing Texas
And
right
that's
now.
why I'm saying
Just in like good old
they'll put
rivalry
a
fashion.
one-loss Ohio State in when your one loss is against Michigan over a Texas team whose one loss is against an Oklahoma who's lost to, God knows who.
Ohio State's defense deserves to be in the playoff. Their offense does
That'd
not.
be crazy if you could say,
If
"Hey,
you just say, hey, Oregon's offense and Ohio
the
State's
Big Ten
defense.
gets to send Ohio State's defense and Michigan's offense." Like, it'd be nuts.
That would win a national championship.
Fuck yeah.
But I just you can't. I mean, Travion Henderson, beast. They can't win without him and Marvin Harrison. I don't care who you put at quarterback.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet. Real quick, recap of the cards. I got Florida State minus 14.5 against Miami, West Virginia, Oklahoma over 57, and Purdue -1 against Minnesota. And then I'm also going to ride with you on that underplay.
Shrock, my 3 picks of the week, official picks for Fuji Bets week 11 is Michigan State plus 31.5, Oklahoma State -2.5, and Iowa Rutgers under 28.5.
And Billy is also with you. He is on that Oklahoma State -2.5. So
Billy and I holding hands in timeout.
So I'll make sure that he understands he needs to be a rider this week. All right. If you don't have anything else, hit him with the socials real quick. We'll get out of here.
Follow Dan at DPosk13. Follow me at Fuji Bets. Follow the pod at CFP_pod.
Right. You get us wherever you listen to podcasts. That's iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Everywhere that the podcasts are being played, we are there. So go give us a listen, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Let us know what you think and how you're betting this week. Yeah, and that's all I got. I don't think Fuji has anything else. He's packing up. He's ready to go. So I'm Dan. That's Fuji. We'll see you next week.